Hello, I'm Dave Bernier, a full stack software developer, and I decided to dive into AI agents development a few weeks ago. A better way to learn is to teach what we learn, so here I am, I'm sharing my learning. Currently, I'm following Antonio Gulli's book, Agentic Design Patterns, where the author describes about 20 or 21 different patterns. So, foremost, the first pattern is prompt chaining. This is quite simple yet very, very useful, and we can use it throughout all other patterns also because it's kind of the foundation here. So the concept is quite straightforward and self-explanatory, is that we are chaining some prompts. So there are some sequential calls to LLMs where the output of the first LLM is injected into the input of the next one, and so on. So there are some good and bad sides to it, but the pros is that it allows to get a highly focused specialization. So every single call to the LLM has to do one thing. So that way the LLM can be very, very focused to doing this on this single thing, and there are less chances for it to get lost or a bit confused in the different instructions. So the reliability is pretty much increased. On the other side, since there are multiple calls to an LLM, it adds latency. And as you'll see in most design patterns, that's a cost we have to pay for some benefits. The potential costs also, there might be a lot more tokens involved, and this can make a difference at the end of the month if you are using some very, very high-end LLMs. And then the last potential downside is that you can have a context explosion, meaning that you can run out of token in a single call, because since we are injecting the output of an LLM into the next one and so on, the context grows and grows every time. So this is a risk that at the end of the chain, you might have too big of a context, and that way the call is going to fail. So here I have an NA10 flow that kind of shows pretty much what it does. So you do have some different prompts, and every time the output of the prompt is getting injected into the next one. Here we have a loop, so the same prompt is being looped with new informations in it. So in the example, we ask the LLM to generate some content on a very specific subject. So if we have a look at the first prompt here, we ask to generate exactly 5 creative and engaging topic ideas based on agentic design patterns. So here it will suggest some different topics, and right after it asks the users which one to choose. Then from the choice of one of the topics, the next call to the LLM is creating outlines. So the goal here is just to generate a detailed outline with introduction, 2 or 3 sections, and a conclusion about the actual topic that was chosen. We ask it to return an array because on the next turn, we are using that array and looping through it to generate a draft section. So this is where the context in that specific use case can explode if there are too many sections to generate, because every time, since we want the LLM to be aware of what has been written, we have to send it back to it. So here, the prompt is write a detailed draft section for the actual section we now need to generate. The context is the summation of all previous text that has been generated, and here are some specific requirements in the drafting of the section. And we finish by telling it to focus on this section only, but to ensure it flows naturally. So that's why we do need the context of what has been written right before. So it's going to loop as long as there are sections to be written. Once it's done, there is a last agent that is going to review and refine the content. So here, review and refine this complete article draft about the topic. We send it the draft, and we ask it to improve the article by ensuring smooth transition, maintaining consistent tone, etc., etc. I did use a chat for that just to have it a bit more user friendly and funny to use, and it makes it a bit easier to iterate. So if we clear the execution, we reset the session. Just to start the chat, we just need to send something, so we trigger the beginning of the flow. So here, the LLM suggested a few topics about agentic design patterns. So crafting adaptive agentic design patterns, implementing decision-making framework, leveraging behavioral insights. Those are some very nice topics. Ethical consideration, creating scalable agentic design pattern for multi-agent. Wow, that's right in what we want to do. So here, I'm just taking it, pasting it there, and this is getting injected in the outline. So it's a bit faster than I can explain here, but here, when we look at the outline, it generated these 3 sections, an introduction and a conclusion. Then we see it being looping into to generate every single outline. So we see that it's now on the 4th loop, so probably index 3. And at the end, once it is done, it is reviewing. We see it's still working. Once it will have finished reviewing the text, it's going to give it back to us in the chat right here. This video is not the goal to dig deep into N8N, but it's a very nice tool to be able to quickly view and have an overview of what a flow actually looks like and have some traces of what's being done. So let's see what it created. So we see the conclusion here. Scroll back, some sections. All right. Foundations and challenges of multi-agent ecosystem in smart environment. So we do have an introduction. And of course, if we want to make it more relevant into the text, we could inject some context and everything. But here the goal is to understand that for each call to an LLM, we are chaining them into the next one, but each and every single LLM has one and only one goal and one task, and it allows it to do it very well and very focused. Of course, we can engineer the prompt to make it more sturdy, but the idea is mainly the broad structure of the flow. That's it.